It's time for another episode of Get to Know Her. I'm so excited to have you here today. We are broadcasting live once again from the Glam Jewels studio, which is my studio here in Burlington, Ontario. And we have a very special guest coming up who is very experienced in the fashion industry and knows all about our sponsor, believe it or not, Brenda Badome. And today I wanted to show you, so I'm wearing one of Brenda's new colorful spring tops, and it's a lovely little short sleeve. Let me see if I can get my jacket off and show you guys, which I love, but I was a little too chilly to go with short sleeves. So I put on this jacket, which is also Brenda's. And this is more of a vintage piece that I've had for a number of years. But again, notice it just keeps on giving. I mean, this is a 10-year-old jacket and it looks just as good as the day I bought it. So make sure you make an investment in brendabadome.com. Use the coupon code Get to Know Her because she's generously offering 22% off for all of our viewers, which is so awesome. And then, of course, if you need jewels to go with your outfit, make sure you go to our website, glamjewels.com, and take a look at all of the fun, colorful jewels we have for spring. So today, are you ready to talk about fashion and entrepreneurship and all of those exciting things? I sure am. And I cannot wait to introduce you to my guest, Eva Cooper. Eva has been in the business of making people happy for over 2 decades. Born in England in 1969, Eva is the eldest of 2 children. Raised in the country 30 minutes north of Ottawa, Eva was horse crazy and was privileged to own her own horse from the age of 12. She believes that having the responsibility of a horse was key to her success in life. The daughter of an outdoor education consultant, her exposure to all things outdoor became her playground and then her skill set. By the age of 21, Eva was the 10th woman in North America to receive the highest certification for whitewater canoeing. Her goal of becoming a wilderness guide was attained as she continued on a path of becoming the director of Canada's premier wilderness company, Black Feather Wilderness Adventures. Twists and turns in Eva's life provided all kinds of experiences. As relationships play a role in decision-making, Eva married an entrepreneur, and the two of them created a sales agency that charted her path into retail. The stress of being your own boss, coupled with making an income and the freedom, was a combination she had never experienced. Unfortunately, a very serious accident that impacted her husband put her life at a junction. Go right or go left. Today, Eva is the mother of a spirited and very independent 20-year-old. Eva is experiencing the feeling of liberty as an empty nester. A third rendition of Eva's business took shape last October, a COVID pivot that took her from a decade in the center of the nation's capital back to her hometown of Wakefield, Quebec. Eva has cultivated a retail model that she now calls sustainable retail. It's time to live a balanced life and to recognize that retail is not a 365-day gig. Amen to that, Eva. I am so excited to chat with her about this. Yay. Oh, Eva, I'm so excited. I'm pressing all the wrong buttons. There you are. Yay! This is so great. I love your bio. There's so much here. You're amazing.
It's interesting to write a bio and then to listen to someone read it. You can't help but think, oh, did I write the right stuff? And it also makes you realize you're older than you might think you are.
It's so true. You know what? I was writing a bio just the other day for somebody, and at the end I said, as a woman over 50, I think it's important that we now embark our wisdom upon others because look at everything you've done, right? It's amazing. Yeah. Oh,
well,
gosh.
Thank you for inviting me to join you. I'm excited. I'm interested in participating. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome, Eva. And I'm so grateful to you because a lot of people know that have been with Glam Jewels since the beginning is that we sold jewelry to you for a number of years, and you carried our collection at Delilah at the Ottawa location. And you were always so lovely. I think our second meeting, you said, let's just go out and have a drink. And we sat on a patio, and
Yeah.
it was just so nice, that you took that time for me when I had driven out there. So, yeah, you have a special place in my heart. That's for sure.
Thank you. And vice versa. Vice
Aw,
versa. Yeah.
thank you.
You're
We're
part
both
of the tribe. Entrepreneurs, well, in my circle anyways, we just say to one another that we're part of the tribe and we understand what we have to go through. Yeah.
Exactly. And us especially, because we're both 1969 babies, which is pretty cool. Yeah. So, Eva, I have to ask you the question I ask all my guests to start at the very beginning. And what did little Eva want to be when she grew up?
Well, in all honesty, because you could answer all sorts of ways, because I'm sure we've thought of being all kinds of things, but deep down inside, and I think there's still some hope, I always wanted to be an undercover spy.
Oh, wow.
I always wanted to be an agent. So there you go.
That's so great. Do you watch all the Mission Impossible movies? Are you? Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that has to do with suspense, crime, all kinds of things. Yeah. The bad people.
The bad people. Have you had to use that dream in your work? Where have you ever had a situation where no?
Mind you, I mean, being a retailer and being in the customer service industry, I believe that I've spent a lot of time listening to people. So I'm sure I've got some chameleon type traits that work in terms of being able to communicate better.
Yeah.
But ultimately, no, I'll never be a spy. I'm too old for that.
You'd look great in one of those black suits, though. I could see you.
There you go.
Yeah. So it sounds like your childhood was pretty adventurous. You were obviously an outdoorsy kid.
Yeah, no, I was. My dad was an outdoor education consultant, so we were exposed to all kinds of things. And growing up in the 70s and then in the 80s, outdoor education or outdoor pursuits were really popular.
Yeah, they sure were. And were you always into it, Eva, or were you ever like a scared kid where you were apprehensive, or were you like right on the horse, no problem?
Yeah. But I think I was introduced in a way that I always had lessons. Like you can learn without lessons, or you can, your parents or you later on in life can invest in learning skills, because we can all learn the skills if we're taught properly. So I'm one of those sort of people. I would definitely encourage people, if they want to be a whitewater canoeist or kayaker, well, I would suggest you go and learn the skills as opposed to being a weekend warrior, because that could be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. And so your outdoor adventurous side, is it still with you today? Are you still?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I do it more at our cottage. We've got a cottage that's pretty remote. So we definitely explore all the time when we're there, whether it's hiking, or boating or on a four-wheeler. But I am looking forward to going back up north and doing some northern canoe routes, some canoe trips that will, take me and some friends on some interesting, I won't be a guide this time per se. I'll guide myself with other skilled paddlers. But I'm looking forward to that as I eventually work less and less.
Yes. Yeah. This is great. That is something we're going to cover in this for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about your daughter as well. Is she the same as you? Like, did you kind of raise her the same way you were raised, or what are the differences there?
My daughter has excelled in downhill skiing. So she does not like hot temperature. She's always really enjoyed cold weather. So her pursuits have always been sort of during the winter time.
Okay.
She never, I can't say that we did much camping or any of that sort of stuff together, but we spent a lot of time on the ski hills, and she's been quite sporty, but she sustained a bad knee injury when she was young, like 15 years old, and she got back on her feet really. She had to wait about a year for the surgery to take place, and then it was, it was a tough time. She's 20 now, and just going through COVID, the pandemic for the last 2 years. She said, "Mom, I am out of Ottawa." She picked up and went to Toronto, and she's enjoying downtown Toronto. Hardworking girl, 2 jobs, and she's just doing her thing and doing it really, really well. So when I say spirited, she's very, very individualistic and sure-footed, and off she went.
Wow. Oh, that's so great. Because I think when you and I had that little coffee time together, I think she was 13.
Yeah,
13 or 14. Yeah.
So still in high school and in her formative years.
Yeah.
But as a parent, and when I talk to so many of my customers, we always discuss our kids, and I've known my customers for a good 20, even more than 20 years. We end up sharing stories about where and how they're navigating through life, and there's no wrong answer. But what is interesting is that they all have a different path, no matter how they were raised. Really, everyone from one to the other seems to be taking on a different path in life.
Amazing. And I can imagine as well, like with COVID, with all of those restrictions that were put on them, like even for your daughter from like the time she was 18 to 20, like she's in this COVID world. And I mean, you and I remember 18 to 20, that was like basically you're at a party or a nightclub or something every night, right? Like, yeah.
Just being with other people and being able to navigate, like, oh, I'm interested in that person, or like that kind of friendship. Or I think the young adults of today, or the youth, have missed out on just a lot of learning outside of the classroom.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so true. And even the whole texting thing, that always amazes me because I've started to work with high school students. So I have co-op students that help me out in my business. And it's funny when we're texting, the communication is excellent. And then I'll say, let's just get on the phone and talk this out. And it's dead silence on the other end. It's not as comfortable, right? So I'm like, blah, 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 and there's no answer.
Oh, I often, if I call my daughter and it's just not a good time, Mom, I can't talk right now. I'll just talk to you later. But it could be because she's doing something that's consequential. It's not that it's very important, but she's just choosing that I don't really want to talk to you at the moment. So she'll text. She'll send a nice heart. I think they're very good. They're good on text in terms of making sure that they can express their emotions on text with emojis. I don't know. I feel like they're able to make sure that they can tell the person that they're talking to that they're okay. They're not offended. They're not angry at you. They love you. But it's very different than the spoken word.
It is. Yeah. Amazing. And just this whole notion that the telephone does not take priority. Like I remember when we would sit down for dinner and the phone would ring and it was my Oma, and my mom told all of us to shut up and put down our utensils because Oma's calling and she had to talk, she would never say, I'll call you back, Mom. We're just having dinner. Like,
no.
It's so different now. Yeah. Gosh, well, I love hearing about the relationship you have with your daughter.
It's always changing. She was just here this weekend. The first time that she come back, Toronto to Wakefield, it's about 4.5, maybe 5-hour drive.
Yeah.
But I mean, the time we spent, she really had to divide it up between all her other friends and a little bit of grandparents. And she's got to go to the chiropractor, and I got to get my hair done. And I mean, they're just on the go. It's good. It's a great time of life for them.
Yeah, definitely. That's so great. So we have to hear your story of how you got into fashion and
Sure.
where you were headed and where you ended up. Like,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
did you go to university or to college, Eva? Did you
yeah,
pursue
I
that after
did.
high school? Okay.
Yeah, I went to Lakehead University, so in Thunder
Yeah.
Bay. I did, that would have been, I guess, 1988 to 92. I
Okay.
took, it was a double degree. It was outdoor recreation, parks and tourism, and then a BA in geography. So an
Oh,
honors and then a bachelor's. So it was fantastic. I loved my 4 years there and learned a lot. I have
yeah.
to say it was an amazing program. I think it's changed over the years. And did that and then married, eloped right after
Okay.
fourth year university
Yeah.
and ended up moving to Calgary and took a master's in social work. And
Oh,
then my marriage blew up and I proceeded to come back in 1994. I think it was short lived, but came back in 1994, came back to the East. And then went right back into my roots with Black Feather Wilderness Adventures and Trailhead, which is a pretty famous Canadian outdoor retailer. There were, I think, 5 stores at one point. There was one in Mississauga, one in Toronto, one in Kingston, 2 in Ottawa. Anyways,
okay.
ran all of their outdoor, all the programming, and then moved
Okay.
over to run programming and to direct things with Black Feather. And yeah, and then did that until I decided to remarry um, again.
Yeah.
And then
Wow.
that's who I ended up having a family with.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that's the where we ended up. My husband at the time forming
Yeah.
a sales agency. So
Okay. So did he have retail experience
he
before
had,
or
oh yeah, he definitely
yeah.
had retail experience, but he also had started a sales agency of his own. He was his own individual sales representative for a couple
Okay.
of companies. And so we just decided we would work together and build a bigger sales agency. And
Great.
that was in, I guess, around 1999, 2000. Yeah.
Amazing. And what brands did you have under your
Oh
agency?
gosh, we had quite a lot. We had Fila, which was a really nice
Yeah.
clothing, footwear, still popular today. Everlast, that was also an athletic brand. Puma, which was very, very popular. Timberland. We represented a company from France called La Fuma and Mie, which would be the Patagonia of Europe.
Yeah.
So it was big and it was always changing. Yeah, it was always
Right.
changing and morphing, and it was, and that's where in that bio you had read where I really sort of learned to have an appreciation for being an entrepreneur. You know, not having a steady paycheck every 2 weeks. So it was a different business model altogether.
Yeah. My God. And had you already had your daughter by then?
No,
Did
we
you?
started before,
Okay.
um, and so Delilah was born in 2001.
Okay.
And even,
Yes.
I was remembering the other day, back in 2001, as an entrepreneur, you didn't even have maternity leave. I was
No.
just thinking that the other day. You did now today, you can absolutely,
Yeah.
but no, there was no maternity leave. It was interesting.
Jeez. So
But
she just came along.
oh, she
She
came
came.
along. Yeah, it was great. No, no, no. Everything, it was planned. Everything was great. But I think I was really fortunate, anyways, in a sense that we had a successful sales agency, and I was able to be at home and work as along, but
Mhm.
be at home with her for almost 3 years.
Wow.
Hmm.
Amazing. So when you had your sales agency, Eva, were you doing shows like the CGTA or any of that sort of stuff, or the Mode
We
Accessory show? Well, I guess not Mode Accessories.
We were on the road a lot. Like we had 2 selling seasons, so we would definitely get our samples and we would head out on the road. We could
Okay.
set up at shows, at certain shows, but
Mm.
oftentimes our distributors were the ones that the brand itself would set up at a show. Let's say
Okay.
the NSIA ski
Right.
show,
Yes.
or shows in Ontario. And then we would go and work the booth with our respective customers. But we enjoyed being on the road. We really liked going to the actual retail stores, meeting
Mm.
with them, sitting down with them. And it was a little more personal. And in those days there wasn't any Zoom. I mean, I think to how
Yeah.
everything has changed now. Yeah.
Oh, isn't it
Yeah.
amazing?
The price of gas now.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
And you know, it was great back in those days too, is just like how easy it was to get an appointment. I mean, even when I called you, it was just like, yeah, sure, come, let's see what you got. But
Yeah.
now I don't think it would be like that anymore.
No,
Retailers are too busy well, first of all, they're trying to, you know,
well,
navigate.
busy, and I think that, even 20 years ago, we weren't really using a cell phone like we are today. So everything was done by phone, so you could reach someone. Yes, there was email, but I didn't find that we were conducting ourselves through business with the email per se. So it's a lot easier for people to not answer today. It's a lot easier for people to just disregard.
Yeah, I think it was a year ago I had to look up what ghosting was. I'm like, what is this ghost? What are people talking about? And
Yep.
now,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a real thing.
yeah, it's a real thing for
Yeah.
sure. Wow. So you also mentioned in your bio, so all of this was happening and then your husband had an accident.
Yes, he did in
Oh,
2004. So Michael he had been a competitive cyclist his whole life.
yeah.
And when he was younger, he was part of a team. And later on in life, so in 2004, the team wanted to regroup to have just a recreational ride. It was going to happen north of Toronto, I guess north of Markham. And then there was going to be a big barbecue and everyone was going to meet after that.
Mhm.
So I shouldn't say the guys. I think there were some women in the group as well. Anyways, they went off for their ride, and they unfortunately were struck by an automotive accident. That there was 2 cars that hit one another, spun out of control, and hit the group of cyclists. So it was, when I refer to these twists and turns or junctions in your life, things happen and then all of a sudden you've got to make some, pretty serious decisions. So Michael was air evacuated to Sunnybrook and had sustained pretty major, a serious concussion, open book fracture of the pelvis, just a lot of injuries. And so when you're your own entrepreneur, you have a young child, who's 2.5. All of a sudden, it's not like my life flashed in front of my eyes, but I had to prioritize and I had to start to think, okay, maybe we're not going to do the business that we're going to do anymore. And we have to concentrate on the healing process. But at the same time, you still have bills to pay. You still have, we had just built a house. So, there was all kinds of things that that I had to, take into consideration. And I said, I'm going to open up my own store in my own
Wow.
village. I'm selling to all of these people and I'm advising them on what to purchase. Well, I know exactly what to purchase. I know what the female customer wants and I'm going to do it. So that
Amazing.
was 2005, I guess, June 2005, I opened the Burro Baracho, which is known as the Drunken Donkey in my little village of Wakefield, Quebec, 40 minutes from downtown Ottawa.
Amazing. So that's what you called the store.
My first store, yeah, was called the
Wow.
Burro Baracho.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then from there, Eva, you opened your second location.
That's
in
right.
Ottawa.
So
Okay. And your husband is healing this whole time. That must
that's
have
right.
been stressful too. Like
Oh
just
yeah.
going through that
Yeah.
process. And
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
was he out of, was he not able to work for quite a long time after
Well,
that,
I
or?
would say, I mean, we really decided to go on a different venture. So he was certainly able to help me to get
Yeah.
the store off the ground. And then he eventually started his own other business, which was in food and beverage.
Okay.
But yes, he definitely, yeah, he healed, but it certainly it took a long time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
wow. And then Delilah number 2 was born.
Well, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the namesake, I
Yeah.
guess, for the next store. So I had my original store in Wakefield for
Mhm.
10 years.
Okay.
Then I decided that I wanted to expand. There's a certain cycle, I think, in entrepreneurship where you start off and you meet, you're successful, and then you just kind of want to grow it. So I ended up
Yeah.
going to downtown, right into the heart of the Glebe in Ottawa,
Yeah.
and signed a 5-year lease, which stressed me to no end, to
Oh, wow.
really sign it. It was a lot of money, and it was in a great location. Anyways, it did really well, and then I signed for another 5 years as well. So it was 10 years in Ottawa, and it was
Oh,
good. Name of the store is Delilah and the Glebe.
yeah.
And I also had another location in Chelsea, Quebec that I had opened, um, not even 6 or 8 months after opening Ottawa. So, and that was
Yeah.
Delilah in the Park. And
Right.
anyways, there's been all kinds of an evolution, and then COVID struck. So then
Yes. And
where
then
we
what to do. And I also wanted to mention, I think once we talked, or I read that Sophie Trudeau shopped
oh yeah,
in your boutique, right?
yep, yep.
Yeah.
In,
Yeah.
uh, in the country, which in Chelsea, which was
In Chelsea.
not far from their cottage. So that was
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, she'd come in a couple of times. That was sweet. But I have to
Yeah.
say, um, all of my customers are famous to me.
Of course.
In
I
their own
know.
right. In their own right. Yeah.
Yes, I'm so happy you say that because we, for a couple of years, this was like 2005, 2006, I participated in the Much Music Video Awards, and I had a
Oh,
couple celebrities wearing my jewelry, and as the years went on, Eva, I was like, the people I see all the time who've supported me since I strung that first bead, those are
yeah,
the rock stars. Like,
you're right.
you really, yeah,
They are.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, our
Yeah.
customers are so valuable. And
Our repeat customers. Well, ultimately, for me, as I say, in the business of making people happy, but I really have fantastic friendships with my customers, and some of my best friends now began as customers.
yeah,
And so I could go for lunch every single day of the year with a
yeah.
customer.
Oh, that sounds
I'd
fun.
weigh 500 pounds if I did that, so I'm not going to do that. But but that's something I'm really proud of that. Like if I was,
Yeah,
if someone dared me, can you go out with a customer every day of the year? I would say, yeah, I certainly could. I could text
yeah,
you and say, let's have lunch. So that's a win for me.
yeah. Is it ever? Oh, I love hearing that.
Mhm.
So, what happened on March 13th, 2020? That's the Friday the 13th that the world basically
Yeah,
shut down.
yeah.
What happened to you? What was going on when you realized that
Well, I
you had to
found
shut
it
your
was an
business?
interesting sequence of events, but what I clearly remember is following my Instagram feed, my business Instagram feed, and seeing all of the businesses making their decisions and announcing it on their Instagram pages. And the narrative was, in order to be safe, in order to keep you safe, this is what we're going to do. So I found that everyone started to close down their businesses before the official Ontario announcement.
Mhm. Right.
So we closed down and took a big deep breath and 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 worried ultimately about, okay, well, how am I going to pay my rent, and how and how
Mhm.
and how. And I guess the next step was the following day I laid off all of my employees because I
Mhm.
felt that, or I trusted in that the government was going to set up, what it needed to do to look after these people, that it wasn't ultimately going to be my responsibility.
Mhm.
And you know what? Ultimately, what happened is that the rat race ended, and it stayed ended for me
Yeah.
anyway since then. And I think the word pivot has been used a little too much,
Mm.
but I have readjusted and realigned and just modified all the time. Um,
Oh, Eva, okay, I am so excited about this because you and I discussed this on the phone. But
yes.
even like when you look back to yourself pre-pandemic, like I can't even believe what I was doing
Yeah.
to sustain myself. And now I don't set my alarm.
I know, I
I'm
just said that to
I
my partner.
it's the
I just said
best.
that to my partner this morning. I said, geez, we have a nice lifestyle. I haven't set my alarm for months.
Yeah.
Unless I have to catch a flight or, really be somewhere by 9
Mhm.
o'clock. But otherwise, wow, wow.
Yeah. And it all gets done.
Oh yeah, it all gets
And
done. Yeah.
yeah,
Actually, and
yeah.
I've learned another thing. My brother, who's also an entrepreneur, he said to me a couple of years ago, he said, you just need to put 3 things on your list. Just 3 things on a day. If you get those 3 things done, it's great. I mean, I used to have lists. Well, look at
Oh,
me still. Like, look at me.
yeah.
I'm still doing lists of everything that I have to do, but to really sort of just focus it and be okay with, maybe I got them all done by noon, or maybe it took me all day. But oh yeah, when I refer to that rat race, it was really unhealthy.
Yeah, it sure was. Wow. And like since I've known you, you've always had this amazing photography. Like you
Mm,
know how to capture lifestyle. And the other thing I really love, and I've had this conversation with so many women, you are the face of your business and you do it so well. And there are so many women who will not step into that role. They feel like they're showing off or they're apprehensive. I don't know, like nobody wants to see me. Like they just want to tuck themselves away, that they're almost invisible.
mhm.
And I'm like, no, this is what, like, I go to your page a lot because I'm so inspired by you. Like when I see what you're wearing and
Yeah,
even you have beautiful photos of you, where you're out in nature and you're enjoying
yeah,
your cottage and you're holding a hat on your head.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, oh, next time I go to the cottage, I'm going to be a little more stylish. I'm not going to wear my
No,
grubbies from
you
10
gotta
years
bring out
ago.
the nice stuff no
Yeah,
matter where you are. Or if it was
exactly.
nice, if it was something you bought, 5 years ago that you might consider, oh, it's a bit old now, but it's still
Yeah.
too nice to wear. No, no, no. Transition
Yeah.
to the cottage, or have cocktail hour at the cottage, or put it on. I don't know. I'm a firm believer in um what you wear will really help you to feel good about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think, oh, that's, I've had interesting not arguments, but conversations with people that say, oh, we shouldn't care about how we look. Well, I would beg to differ. I think it's really important, to put on your face or brush your hair
Yeah.
or whatever, and put on something that you feel good in, because then
Mhm.
you will just approach the day, I think, ultimately in a more positive manner, and then you'll impact other people positively, as
Yeah, I agree. Eva, do you follow that every day? Do you have like a routine every day where you're like, you get up, you do your makeup, your hair, you put on something that makes you feel good?
yeah,
Is that important to you?
yeah,
Yeah.
it is important. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
important. I might float around the house in some of my house, clothes for 90 minutes or whatnot. But
Yeah.
ultimately, oh yeah, I have a routine. Like I definitely want to get myself ready. And when I go out, you know, I'm wearing nice clothes and nice footwear. And ultimately I'm advertising, my
Yeah.
business. But even if someone doesn't know me, they can still say, wow, I wonder where, maybe that woman shops, or um,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really important. I think it's depressing if you look around and things look old and shot. It's like
Mm.
put a fresh coat of
Yeah.
paint on a building. Well, you can do it on yourself as well. You can do it in your community, that sort of thing.
That's right. And especially now with the pandemic, I was listening to I was listening to an interview on CBC, and they were talking about how, this post pandemic, it feels kind of like a horror movie after you've had the shock. So they were describing, like, imagine, like, you're a little kid on your tricycle and you're going through the hallway of your house and it's all pretty and fresh and new. And then there's a ghost, and that's COVID. And then coming out the other side, everything's now tired and it hasn't been touched for 2.5 years. And,
Yeah.
and and people are like sitting in that. It's like a purgatory, like, okay, now what? Like, where do I go from here? And you're right.
Hmm.
Those little things, like adding a new piece of artwork or
Yeah.
wearing something colorful, it can really change your
Mhm.
mood. And
Well,
yeah.
and I've spoken to many customers ultimately, over the last 2 years, and work has, transitioned to work at home and
Mm.
being on a call like this, virtual. And there was a real need at the start, people started to, well, I think ultimately people really let themselves go,
Hmm.
and they would show up on a call and not be ready. And the joke was, oh well, I'm still wearing my pajamas, and who cares what I'm really going to look like. But I have spoken with people who are managers, for example, within the government, and have said, no, enough is enough. You show up, even if you're working at home, get yourself ready. I might have to call you in for a meeting, or I want to see you on the screen and I need you to show up ready. And it's a
Mm.
form of respect, I guess, for the
Yeah.
people that you are working with,
Yeah.
and ultimately respect for yourself.
Yes. Yeah. So important. That's right. I know. I think that time of, like, there was a time where COVID just felt like extended Christmas holidays. It was like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, drink in the day, wear my pajamas. But at some point, we got to get it together.
We do.
Yeah.
Well, I think as humans, we really thrive with a routine. I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, we do. Like if we're just kind of meandering and walking aimlessly, uh, we still need to have goals and we still need to show up.
Yes, exactly. So, Eva, can you talk to us a little bit about how you pivoted during COVID, like the big changes you made, and maybe even were there any like new skill sets where you were maybe before kind of intimidated to learn, and now you've mastered
Sure,
them and you're like,
sure.
yeah, I got that, no problem.
Yeah, sure. Well,
Yeah.
I guess fundamentally, the first thing was that I had to devise some sort of a revenue stream.
Mm.
So first thing that I adopted was, oh gosh, I got to remember the wording for it. But essentially, it was to encourage people to buy gift certificates online.
Okay.
And I had no online store. I wasn't doing anything technically.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a Facebook page, I had an Instagram page, but ultimately I wanted to always service people in brick and mortar, like in a store. And now I had to
Right.
think and develop something that was, that they could transfer me money, in terms of
Yeah.
happening not at a cash register. So I definitely created a campaign for that and did really, really well. What was it? It was, oh gosh, I apologize. I can't remember. But it
Yeah.
was fantastic. I mean, it worked really, really well, where essentially everyone, sent in money, purchased gift certificates that they could use later on when we reopened. Then I adapted, then I had to think of an online store. I mean, I absolutely had to. And down the street is the famous Shopify. So, I mean, that was
Yeah.
staring me in the face. And my photographer, who does all of my images for the company, is very tech savvy. And I said, listen, you got to help me. We got to have to develop an online store.
Yeah.
And so we did, because we had all the images.
Mhm.
And it was a very easy platform. I mean, I couldn't have set it up. Andrew, my photographer, did everything at the back of the house. And so to this day, we work on it together all the time. And
Great.
that really saved me, because we didn't expect a second lockdown, and then the second
Yeah.
lockdown came. So, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Oh,
So online. Yeah, absolutely online.
and your website is so beautiful because you get such a good sense of the interior of the store, and it's so welcoming, and it's
Yeah.
beautiful. You have artwork on the walls. Like, it looks like a grand home to me. Like, it's
Oh
really,
yeah. Well, the
yeah.
newest store. So
Mhm.
so last July, my lease was up in Ottawa. It had been 10 years, and I wasn't going to renew it. So
Mhm.
I ended up securing a beautiful old mansion, a beautiful home that's next to a gorgeous hotel, boutique hotel in Wakefield, Quebec, the Wakefield Mill Hotel and Spa.
Okay.
And so it's an old home called the McLaren House. And I was able to set it up. Very, very old walls. So we had to use really interesting fixtures in order to be able to have a nice store. And so I
Right.
have two. I have the ground floor, so I've got the boutique, and then I also opened up an art gallery with local artists next to me. So you
Oh,
kind of just walk in, and you can go left to this boutique or right to the gallery. But ultimately, everyone sort of mixes. Anyways,
yeah.
it's a dream. It's a dream come true. It's a really, really beautiful location. You'll have to come visit.
Yes, I want to come visit. And I saw you had an event like in December that you
Oh
called
yeah.
Shop and Dine, Be Home by 9. I love that.
Yeah, it was
That's great.
fantastic.
So
It was great.
how'd that all play out? Like, how did people dine and how did you manage that with
Well, so the wonderful thing about my online store, and everyone
uh-huh.
refers to as a website, and you would think it's a website, but I can advertise, I can create categories. So I created a category that was called programming, and I'm going to have all
Oh,
kinds of programs that'll happen. So you tag it as an item of clothing that you would purchase. So, for instance, this was the Shop and Dine to Home by 9. So, come to the
okay.
store. We'll serve you some nice bubbly and just little canapes. You get to shop with your girlfriends. And then we're going to walk down the hill to the hotel. And we're going to have a table d'hote, a small plates. Table d'hote is fantastic. So they purchase it was $65. It was a great price. So for $65, you can shop and dine, and off you go. Be home by 9. They loved
Beautiful.
it. Yep. Yep.
Oh, what a great idea. It's so innovative. You know what, Eva? Next time you and I get on the phone, you know what we have to talk about? Is something came up on YouTube and I was thinking about you about women and NFTs and
Oh
how
yeah.
only 16% of women are making money creating
Yes.
NFTs, and that women need to become more of this conversation and start joining groups. And I was like,
Yes.
I got to talk to Eva about that today
Yeah, we
because,
can. That'd be
yeah,
great. That would be
yeah,
great.
it's so cool. Yeah. Yeah, but I love it. It's just, I think it's so awesome how, like, before the pandemic, like you were saying, there's all this rat race and just
Mhm.
trying to keep up, and I felt too like there was a lot of looking at what other people are doing, and am I on track, and I'm at the right shows, and am I doing the right things and the right events and blah blah. And then it's kind of like the pandemic comes and you have no other choice but to create your own world. And for the first time in my life, I don't even think it's being in my 50s. I think it's the pandemic that has made me say, like, I really don't give a crap about what anybody else is doing.
Yeah.
I'm so happy with the world I've created. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's it's so liberating.
Well,
Yeah.
I think we get more courageous as time goes by in our lives. And I think that we were just thrust into that pandemic, not prepared, not knowing what the outcome would be, but ultimately, and we don't talk about this very much, but we became braver individuals in order to get through the shitstorm, pardon my
Mhm.
expression,
Yeah.
just to get through it. And when we become braver, this is my opinion, when you take that extra step on that ladder, the next step becomes easier. The next step becomes easier. And you kind of look down, down below at the ladder, and it's like, wow, okay, like, I am brave. And when I'm brave and courageous, it makes moving up that ladder all the more easier.
Yeah.
And then I agree with you, whether maybe it is being in our 50s or it is also, a consequence, a reaction to the pandemic. We're not being pushed around anymore by how do I say this? I don't want to be pushed around in terms of feeling that I have to reach this particular level of success. We end up looking around us and thinking, wow, especially with what's taking place today, around the world, but we're pretty gifted and lucky. And I'm very grateful for what I have around me. And how much money do I really need?
Yeah.
So that rat race, because that rat race was ultimately, the churning of money in and out, in and out, in and out. And I think that at the end of the day, we have a far better quality of life when it's smaller.
Yeah. I agree. I totally agree with you. Little things like meeting a friend for dinner now, like I skip all the way to the restaurant. I'm just so happy. And
Mhm.
before it was like, oh my God, I don't have time to meet someone. I gotta
Yeah,
do this. I gotta plan but
yeah.
yeah, no, now it's just like everything
Our
is a joy.
circle, I think our circle of friends or the people that we have within our inner circle, I think that's a lot smaller. I used to always refer to feeling like I lived in the spider web, and it was just so interconnected, and there was just almost too many people in my
Yeah.
in my life, and too many commitments and too much social. And so, I mean, who knows? Someone might say, you're older and wiser now, and you just know that it's quality, not quantity. But ultimately, I think we're all living a little more of an insular life.
I think so too. And I think also having these types of platforms, like where you and we can have this conversation, but I know there are other women watching it and they're learning from your experiences and they're feeling inspired. And so we are together and we are connecting, but it's just in a different way,
Yep.
and I think that's really great too. Yeah. So awesome. Eva, I've loved having you on here. This is so great. And so let us know, before I let you go, what are your plans with the boutique? Like, how are things now? I saw that you had posted that you're reopening. What does that look like for you? Are we
So
even
yes.
going to see you in the store? Are you going to be like on your canoe and
Oh, no, I'm there all the time. However, and I love it. I love it.
yeah.
So I sent out an email to all of the customers
Mhm.
yesterday, letting people know that I've decided that I'm going to embrace what I call a sustainable retail model. So it's very different. So
Yeah, let's hear it.
so I have been closed January, February, and March. So I'll reopen April 1st, and I'll stay open April, May, and June. Then I'll close down for July and August, and I'll reopen after Labor Day weekend. So it'll be September, October, November, and December. And I've termed it sustainable retail because it is about having a healthy retail business. And we have a lot of months in the year, more months than people may know, that are not profitable months. So I really wanted to downsize the business and make sure that I'm open with what people want and need at the right time of the year. And then that's it, that's all. And then we build the anticipation and the need or the want, the need and the want for the next season. And so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm fortunate because of where I'm located. I have a great landlord, and so we're able to work together that way. But ultimately, just it has to be a healthier model, and it has to be healthier for other, for the customer, the consumer, and the person, there day in and day out.
That's great. I love that. It's so healthy because you're going to be at your cottage. You're going to be enjoying your surroundings in the summer.
Yeah.
You'll feel
When everyone
rejuvenated.
should have some downtime. And I guess I would just preface this by saying, my opinion or my ideas do stem from being very close to Ottawa and seeing how COVID has really impacted the city of Ottawa. Ottawa, I believe, is different than other cities around Canada because of our high number of civil servants. It's a government town, and so many people are working from home. So, I think a lot of people are going to have to adapt their businesses around that. The downtown core is not what it was. I don't know when it will get back to where it was, if it ever will. So there's always external environmental factors that I have to take into place. But ultimately, I made this decision for a balanced lifestyle.
I love that. And that's what people want now. They've finally felt some balance because they were able to work from home. And a lot of companies are finding that their productivity is up with having employees work from home. It's like their biggest fear of allowing people, freedom in the workplace has now turned out to be beneficial. So, you look at all our office towers and everything. It's like, will they ever, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
It might be turned into living spaces,
Yeah, that would be great. Actually. Yeah. Very good. Yeah.
Be really good, especially now.
Yeah, we need it.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, Eva, thank you so much for your time today and all of this amazing.
You're welcome. I hope I didn't talk too much. It's the first time I've ever done a live interview. And I'm looking at the screen, 52 minutes. Wow.
I know.
Just like that.
I know. It just went by like that. And I could talk to you for hours. But our next thing is NFTs. We got to figure that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I'm going to put you back in the virtual green room with the other rock stars. And I'll be back to you in a second. Okay. Bye. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Eva Cooper, isn't she delightful? Oh my gosh, this is so inspiring. And I love her whole outlook on the way she runs her business and her life. You really can create something that works for you. You don't have to do what everybody else is doing. So keep that in mind and enjoy time off for yourself. And when you're enjoying your time off, you got to make sure you go to brendabadome.com, use the coupon code Get to Know Her, and get 22% off of your order. Shop her spring collection. We are loving the new colors. I keep looking at my necklace. It's veering off to the side here. But and then make sure you go to glamjewels.com, grab yourself some matching accessories, and I will see you back here next week with another kick-ass businesswoman. We'll talk to you then, and keep on showing the world your sparkle. Take care. Bye for now.